Corla, I hope it's okay if I remain seated. I have a broken leg and find it hard to stand, and I didn't fall off a swing, and I'm not suing anybody. What I do want to raise, though, is something very urgent and very important, much more urgent than anything of that nature. This month we saw 2 new reports on what's happening to our globe. Ice is melting in the Arctic at 6 times the rate that we thought it was melting. And that report is from the University of Edinburgh and was published in early June. The Global Plant Survey from Kew Gardens, the Botanical Gardens at Kew, are showing us that plant life is becoming extinct 5 times faster than we thought was the case. In northern India, as we speak, poor people who have no shelter or access to water are dropping dead in the biggest heat wave that that country has ever experienced. 40-degree heat in Delhi, 51-degree heat in other parts of northern India. And I want to ask you, Taoiseach, to please engage with us in a serious conversation about what the hell your government are doing in response to climate change. I heard you on the TV after the Green Wave in the election say that you get it, you understand it, you get it. Well, please give us evidence of it, because only in the last week, over the course of the results of the elections come in, I discovered that your minister slapped a money message on the bill that I have before the Dáil on climate action, that we have painstakingly tried to rescue from the hostage position that this government has kept it in. And you have a money message on Sinn Féin's micro-regeneration bill, and you have a money message on the Green Party's waste reduction bill. And these money messages seriously need to be questioned, because what you're talking about is small amounts of money, beer money really, compared to what, for example, you're willing to spend on defence of Donald Trump, or indeed willing to spend on a botched up tendering out process for broadband. 26 million to tender out for broadband, at least 10 million to look after the Trump visit. And we're talking about tiny, tiny amounts of money that you are blocking, that your government are blocking, serious bills that, Taoiseach, I want to argue will send a message to the fossil fuel and plastic industry that the game is up and that they have to start paying for the damage that they're doing to the planet. We seem to be very fond of slapping taxes on little people, whether they come in the form of water taxes or an increased carbon tax or an increased home tax. Why the hell don't we take the same attitude to the global corporations who irresponsibly continue to dig up and burn fossil fuels and irresponsibly continue to develop their industries around plastic and destroy our oceans and our ecology, and they do not pay for it. Everybody else pays for it, but they don't, but they continue to make vast profits. Can you please, not in a sentence, attack my bill again, but tell me, are you seriously saying that it is worth blocking these measures in order to pay some kind of lip service to industry, but hold back progress in this country being a leader on dealing with climate chaos?
Thanks very much, Deputy, and I'm very sorry to hear about your injury, and I hope you make a speedy recovery. You asked about some practical examples of the kind of climate action that government is taking, so I'll just give you a few examples. You made a statement saying that there is no evidence that government was taking climate action, so I'll respond to that now by giving you an example of 4 very practical things just done in the last few weeks. Signed a joint letter with President Macron to build a Celtic interconnector between Ireland and continental Europe, allowing us to expand our renewable energy and share it with them. Irish Rail issued the initial tender for 600 hybrid and electric vehicles as we start to turn our rail fleet electric and electrify the lines to Drogheda, Maynooth and Selbridge. And Dublin Bus received the first of our low-emission buses, and all buses from now on being procured in our cities will be low-emission. And just today, Cabinet voted to publish legislation to outlaw the manufacture of microbeads in Ireland. So there are 4 real practical examples that have actually been done by government in the last few weeks that will actually make a difference. And that will be followed up by the publication of the government's climate plan in the next couple of weeks. Because what government wants is sensible climate action that actually reduces greenhouse gas emissions, not legislation that pays lip service to doing so. Sensible climate action that actually reduces greenhouse gas emissions, but climate action that doesn't cost us our jobs, doesn't make us poorer, doesn't make us less secure. And the difficulty we have with the legislation that you're putting forward is that it does not in itself reduce greenhouse gas emissions at all. Because we all know and we acknowledge that natural gas is a fuel that we're going to need to continue to use for decades ahead. We're at 30% renewable now. With major effort, we can get to 70 by 2030, but we'll still need to use natural gas as part of our energy mix for decades ahead. And there are still going to be homes and businesses around the country that are going to use natural gas as part of their energy mix. So the question arises, if we are going to have to use natural gas, which any reasonable person and any reasonable climate scientist accepts, should we use our own, or should we use natural gas imported from the shale oil and shale sands in North America, imported from the Middle East or imported from Russia? And we believe that if we have to use it, it makes more sense to use our own, on cost grounds, on energy security grounds, and also on environmental grounds because of the risks and costs of transport. And there is other legislation that we have accepted. We've accepted 2 private members' bills, one from Tony McLaughlin to outlaw fracking, one from Thomas Pringle to end investment by state funds in fossil fuel companies. So we have demonstrated that where legislation makes sense, where it actually works, where it doesn't do unintended harms, that we will support it. Unfortunately, yours doesn't meet those tests.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Smith.
Taoiseach, you mentioned something there that I really wanted to pick up on, that you want climate action that doesn't hurt jobs, make people poorer, or it makes things less severe for people in this country. 3 words: Bord na Móna workers are currently losing jobs, are currently facing redundancy, are probably facing replacement into other jobs. In the words of their union official, they are being treated abysmally. They're being treated abysmally because we are making a bags of the first challenge of just transition for both the workers and the community. Second thing I'd like to say to you is on the question of our natural gas. 3 days after this House declared a climate emergency, your government issued a licence to ExxonMobil and the Chinese state oil company, those nasty communist Chinese, to drill for oil off the Kerry coast, 200 miles off the Kerry coast. If they find it, more than likely it will not come back here because it wouldn't be economically efficient or suitable to do so. It wouldn't be commercially viable. So it is not our gas. It is gas that's been sold off for a pittance by this state to global corporations whom, I will repeat, you refuse to challenge. You refuse to challenge because you're being lobbied by them consistently, whether it's in the form of the oil industry, the plastic industry or the energy industry. And until you take this seriously, you have no credibility. If you do not challenge the corporations, then nobody is going to believe you when it comes to climate action.
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy. Haven't been lobbied by them at all, in fact. What I said earlier is what we want to do as a government is to take sensible climate action that actually reduces greenhouse gas emissions and helps us to save our planet. But at the same time, climate action that doesn't cost jobs, doesn't make us poorer and doesn't make us less safe. And that's the difficulty with some of the proposals that you've put forward, is they do potentially make us poorer, cost jobs, make us less energy secure, but don't actually reduce greenhouse gas emissions by any amount. In relation to Bord na Móna, Count Corla, what we're doing with Bord na Móna is we're transitioning that company from a peat company to one that's involved in waste and renewable energy. It's exactly the kind of thing we should be doing because we're phasing out peat production in this state. And as part of the Just Transition, there is a voluntary redundancy scheme for Bord na Móna workers, which has been oversubscribed. And in addition to that, packages are being put in place for the retraining of workers.